everybody, and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make some Christmas cake cupcakes. So this is going to be a dense cake, like a Christmas cake filled with fruit, but it's going to be made in a muffin tin or a cupcake tin, and then I'm going to put some frosting on the top. Now usually with a Christmas cake, the traditional one in the UK would have marzipan on top and then an icing, preferably royal icing on top of that. But for these I'm going to do a cream cheese frosting, but in order to give a suggestion of the marzipan, I'm going to put some almond extract in that frosting, just so that you get the sweetness of the icing and the flavour that comes with marzipan, which is almond flavour basically. So I'll go on to the ingredients. So for the ingredients I have 150 grams of softened unsalted butter, that's 10 tablespoons plus 2 teaspoons. I have 200 grams, 1 cup of demerara sugar. I have 2 medium eggs, which would be large in the USA, and 1 additional egg yolk, again, which would be large. That's a medium egg yolk, that would be large in the USA. Then I have 125 grams of plain flour, and that works out at 3/4 of a cup plus a tablespoon plus a teaspoon, based on scooping packed flour into a 250 millilitre cup. I have 240 millilitres, 1 cup of port or Madeira, or you could use just tea, black tea if you wanted to, or you can just soak the fruit in whatever you want, but port Madeira or brandy would be good, because Christmas cake is often infused with brandy anyway. And then for the fruits I have 70 grams of sultanas, which is half a cup. I have 60 grams of raisins, which is half a cup. I have 85 grams of prunes, and these are soft prunes which I have chopped into smaller pieces, and that is half a cup. I have 80 grams, half a cup of chopped mixed peel, which I have chopped a little bit finer than it usually is. So they're the fruits. And then I also have the zest from 1 lemon, and I have 4 grams, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 6 grams, 1 teaspoon of salt, 5 millilitres of vanilla extract, and 3 grams, about 3 grams, 3/4 of a teaspoon of mixed spice. So that's all the ingredients for the cake. And then for the frosting I have 200 grams of cream cheese, which is about 14 tablespoons. I have 150 grams, which is 10 tablespoons plus 2 teaspoons of unsalted butter. And I have 125 grams, which is 1 cup plus 1 teaspoon of icing sugar. I'm also going to use half a teaspoon, 2.5 millilitres of vanilla extract, and maybe, if I need to, a little milk, just to bring it all together nicely. So that's all the ingredients, and the first thing I'm going to do is to soak my fruit. And to do that I'm going to put the fruit into a saucepan, and I'm going to pour over that my port, and then I'm just going to stir that around, and I'm going to put that on the heat and bring it up to the boil, and I'm going to just boil it for about 2 minutes, and then I'm going to take it off the heat and allow it to cool down completely. And at that point I will drain off any excess liquid, but I will retain that liquid so that if I think my cake batter is too dry, I can add a bit of that in afterwards, or I can even poke holes in the top and just drizzle it in after the cakes have baked. So once this fruit has been soaked for an hour, I'll come back and we'll go on to the next step. And by that time I would have my oven preheating to 160 Celsius, 325 Fahrenheit, and I've already got my muffin pan prepared, which I have greased and floured each of the wells of the muffin tin so that they're ready to take the cakes. You could use paper cases if you wanted to, but I decided not to. So my fruit has soaked for over an hour in the hot liquid, and I've strained it off, so there's some liquid drained off and the fruit has cooled down. So now it's time to go on to make the cake. So I have my oven preheating and we'll go on to mix the batter. So I've put the butter, the softened butter, into a large bowl, and I'm going to put the demerara sugar in, and I'm going to cream those until they're nicely combined and quite fluffy. And for that I'm going to use my hand mixer. So that's nicely combined. It does take quite a while for demerara sugar to break down a little bit because it's quite firm and it's not broken down yet. But I'm going to put the eggs and the egg yolk into the mixture, and I'm going to do it one at a time. I'm going to mix that to fully combine it, then I'll add the next egg and then the egg yolk, mixing each time. So that's well mixed in, the eggs and the egg yolk, and then I'm going to put in my vanilla as well, and the zest from my lemon, and I'm going to mix those to get those combined. That's good. Now at this stage I'm going to scrape my bowl down just so that any on the outside of the bowl gets incorporated as well. And then I'm just going to set that aside for a moment, and I'm going to take the baking powder and put it into the flour and the salt and the mixed spice, and I'm going to mix those around to get those fairly evenly distributed. And then I'm going to put those into the wet mixture, and I'm simply going to mix that on a low speed until the flour is incorporated into the batter. and that's good. That didn't take long at all. So then I'm going to add my fruit in as well, and I'm going to stir that through. And then we need to put that into the prepared muffin tin or cupcake tin. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to divide it evenly, the batter evenly into the tins, and I estimate that's going to be about 80 grams of batter in each tin. So that's fairly evenly divided and I have no batter left. And I'm going to put that into the oven and I'm going to bake the cakes for about 45 minutes. And then after 45 minutes I will test them with a skewer, and if it comes out clean I'll take them out of the oven, allow them to cool just a little bit, then I'll take them out of the tin and put them on a wire rack to cool completely. And when they've cooled completely I'll come back and we'll make the frosting and we'll put that on the top. I baked the Christmas cake cupcakes for 45 minutes and I tested them with a skewer and it came out clean. So I left them in the pan for about 10 minutes and then I ran a spatula, a little offset spatula, around the edge of each one and tipped it out. And I had actually lined the base of mine as well as with flour and oil. I'd lined the base with little pieces of parchment paper so they tipped out quite nicely. Because of the batter, I have to warn that these will stick to the sides of the pan if you don't flour and butter it very well, basically. You could use cupcake liners or muffin liners if you wanted to. That would make it easier, of course. So this is what the cakes look like, and they've baked quite nicely. As you can see, there's only 11 there, and that's because number 12 was eaten while it was still warm. I just couldn't stop myself. So the next thing to do is to make the frosting to go on the top. And I've put my cream cheese into a bowl and I'm going to add my butter into that as well, and I'm going to mix those with my hand mixer to get them fully combined, and I'm going to add my almond extract in as well. And then it's simply a question of adding in the icing sugar and mixing until it's all come together. And that's good enough like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my icing sugar in, but because it has a tendency to clump, I'm actually going to sift it, and then I'll use the hand mixer to whisk it in. And I'm going to start my mixer on a very low speed, otherwise the icing sugar will go everywhere. And I'm just going to mix this until it's all combined. So that's good enough, like that. And I'm going to put that into a piping bag, which I have fitted with a nozzle, and you can have any type of nozzle you want basically, or you can do it just by cutting the end off the piping bag. So I'll just fill the bag. And then with the icing in the bag, I'm simply going to pipe it on the top, like that, and I don't need very much. So I've piped them like that, and I'm actually going to leave those to set up. So I'm going to put them into a cooler place and allow them to set up a little bit so that the icing firms up, because it's very soft at the moment. And then once that's happened, I'll come back and we'll have a taste. So I've let the icing or frosting set up a little bit, and I've cut one of the cakes in half so you can actually see inside. And I have to say it looks quite good. So I'll have a taste of that one. Very, very good. The cake itself with the fruit, and I get the texture of the fruits and the flavours, and particularly the flavour of the chopped mixed peel coming through, which is so reminiscent of Christmas. And then with the flavour of the frosting with the almond in, it does give a hint of a marzipan type flavour. So I think these are very good indeed. They could be frozen once they come out of the oven and they've cooled down, before they have the icing or the frosting put on the top, and then they can be taken out of the freezer and thawed, and then they can be frosted if that's what you want to do, or you can just eat them without the frosting. So I think these are a nice alternative to the full-size Christmas cake for those who want to try them. So I hope you enjoyed the recipe, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for this recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.